Freedom of speech is supposedly the law of the land, unless you're anti-Semitic in some states. What's in the news with stories on the FDA is clueless, socialism sucks, device security, stupid cops, and coward cops. And New Hampshire, it's like this too, on a judge ruling federal border patrol checkpoints unconstitutional. This episode is brought to you by ZenCash, a cryptocurrency that infuses privacy, anonymity, and security done right. Also brought to you by NordVPN, the fastest, easiest to use service to protect your online presence that I've ever seen.
Welcome to The Lava Flow, channeling the flow of information to the libertarian, anarcho-capitalist, voluntarist, and agorist community. Find us at thelavaflow.com. Here's your host, Roger Paxton.
Thank you for joining me this week. From the home state of America's first serial killer, H.H. Holmes. This is the show that will bring you the people, places, and events that everyone in the Liberty Rebellion needs to know. You can catch me on Twitter at @TheLavaFlowPod. This is episode 91, Freedom of Speech. And it's Tuesday, May 22nd, 2018, when there have already been more than 418 people killed by police this year. And the United States debt clock shows us at $21,145,450,000,000 in debt. What's wrestling my jimmies this week? You're about to find out. Let's do it to it. If you honestly think any promises in any constitution ever written are worth a damn, then you're going to want to hear this one. South Carolina is poised to be the first state to pass legislation to adopt an Israeli-centric definition for anti-Semitism. This will then apply to the state's campuses, potentially limiting discussion of Israel-Palestine to a one-sided information that fosters U.S. policies that provide Israel $10 million per day. This bill has been heralded in Israel as a landmark bill that will lead change across the U.S. and the world. The legislation codifies a definition of anti-Semitism that significantly changes the meaning of the word, and it requires the state's colleges to use this new definition when determining whether an action is discriminatory and thereby prohibited. This new definition declares statements that are critical of Israel, even when factual, as anti-Semitic and therefore impermissible. A bill on this passed in the State House of Representatives, but when promoters failed to pass it in the State Senate, they resorted to a parliamentary maneuver that may have broken their own rules. Imagine that. They inserted the text at the last minute in South Carolina's 545-page General Appropriations Bill, which is considered a must-pass bill because it's required for state government to function. Doesn't sound like a must-pass to me. We don't need state government to function. The insertion is on page 348, sandwiched between a section on statewide higher education repair and renovation and a section that specifies the amount of money appropriated to one of the state's colleges. While pro-Israel groups are celebrating the passage as a monumental victory, there are actually two more steps before it becomes state law. First, the bill must be reconciled with a previous appropriations bill passed by the House. This bill also contains an amendment redefining anti-Semitism and applying it to colleges but uses different wording. Representatives of the two chambers will meet in the next week or so to create a compromise bill. After that's been accomplished, the governor must sign it into a law. Now, it's safe to assume that neither of these steps will constitute obstacles, however. If history is a predictor, the governor is unlikely to oppose this legislation. But this pro-Israel illegal legislation nonsense is not unique to South Carolina. The Texas governor, Greg Abbott, signed a bill into law last year that prevents state investments or contracts with companies that boycott Israel. So for having a political opinion, you can be shut out of business with one of the largest companies in the state of Texas, Texas itself. But Texas is not even alone in this. In passing that law this year, with bipartisan support, by the way, Texas joined a growing group of roughly 17 states that restrict government investment with companies that participate in the boycott, divestment, sanctions movement against Israel. Under the new law, companies that do business with Texas must sign a contract that includes written verification that they don't boycott Israel and that they won't throughout the length of the agreement. Opponents of those policies argue they curb freedom of speech and limit people's right to boycott. Well, of course they do. That's the point of them. And that's the crux of this issue. This is a freedom of speech issue, hands down. How do these laws remain law of the land when it is a clear violation of both states' constitutions and the U.S. Constitution? Article 1, Section 2 of the South Carolina Constitution states, "The General Assembly shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech." Yet, they clearly just did this. Article 1, Section 8 of the Texas Constitution states, "Every person shall be at liberty to speak, write, or publish his opinions on any subject, being responsible for the abuse of that privilege, and no law shall ever be passed curtailing the liberty of speech or of the press." And yet, just like South Carolina, they've done the same. And Amendment 1 of the U.S. Constitution reads, "Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech." And yes, both of these laws in this segment violate that as well. Okay, so my loyal listeners know exactly where I'm going with this, so I'm just going to get right into it. But whether the Constitution really be one thing or another, this much is certain, that it has either authorized such a government as we have had, or it has been powerless to prevent it. In either case, it is unfit to exist. Lysander Spooner said this in his book, No Treason, The Constitution of No Authority, way back in 1870, less than 100 years from the writing of that Constitution. If you've never read that book, pick up a copy. There are PDFs of it for free all over the internet. It is one you will regret missing. It's one of the best arguments against the idea of a social contract that I've ever read, and I'm seriously considering turning it into an audiobook for Audible.
Have you subscribed to the Lava Flow on iTunes or any mobile device yet? Then what's wrong with you? Go to thelavaflow.com/subscribe so you don't miss a minute of the show. And while you're subscribing, make sure to leave me a 5-star rating and review the show to help others find our podcast. thelavaflow.com/subscribe.
This is Chris Spangle, and I am the host of We Are Libertarians, which you can find in iTunes, Google Play, or at wearelibertarians.com. We are a podcast that brings you all of the irreverence that modern politics deserves by examining current events from a libertarian perspective. So please, check us out at wearelibertarians.com.
What's in the news? The news you need to know from a libertarian perspective.
In Coward Cops news, a deputy with the Carroll County, Maryland Sheriff's Office fatally shot a groundhog in an incident captured on video that has been widely shared on social media. The deputy stopped when he observed the groundhog acting oddly, Department spokesman Corporal John Light said. Light said it doesn't appear that it had bitten anyone at that point. It's unclear whether the groundhog was rabid. In a statement, the sheriff's office said the deputy stopped when the animal in the road began causing vehicles to stop and creating a hazard. The deputy then got out of his vehicle, tried to direct the groundhog off the road, and realized that it was not responding as expected for an animal that was not being cornered or trapped. Believing the groundhog to be either sick or injured, the deputy then put the animal down for the public's safety, the statement said. For the public's safety. Bullshit. I mean, this is utter horseshit. The video shows the deputy stepping toward the groundhog, which doesn't back away. The deputy then slowly backs into the next lane of traffic, and the groundhog runs towards the deputy. The deputy then pulls his gun, gets down on one knee, and shoots the groundhog once. The groundhog continues to roll around, and the deputy then gets down on one knee again and shoots the groundhog a second time, and then walks back towards his patrol car. Justina Okoska, an observer of the shooting, said, "It started out as a cute encounter where I thought he was trying to help the little fella. I obviously did not think that it would take this turn and was kind of shocked. I'm sure the officer did the best thing in this situation. It's not for me to judge." Bullshit, it's not for you to judge. Who the fuck do you think is going to judge the immoral actions of people? Man, the statism is rampant with people. This is what we have to overcome. The video of this incident is disturbing and disgusting. Not only did the officer put people in danger by whipping out his gun with tons of cars around and firing 2 rounds, but he's apparently so inept with a gun that he can't put down an animal in one shot from 5 feet away that was standing still and make the animal suffer for several seconds before pulling out his gun again and finishing the job. This fucking cop is a coward. Fuck him in the neck. In more stupid cop news, Chad Lerner, the training director of the K-9 Training Academy in Macon County, Illinois, said in a recent interview that police departments throughout the state may have to euthanize drug dogs if marijuana is legalized. I shit you not. Lerner said that it would be abusive to retrain the dogs and it could even be impossible. He also said that the dogs are trained to not be social because that is what the job requires. Abusive? Oh, so killing a fucking dog isn't abusive, but training them to be social is abusive? What a fucking moron this guy is. Other police in the state seem to have similar feelings on the subject, as if they were all coached by the same thing. Assistant Police Chief Steve Petrelli of the Normal Police Department said it would be impossible to retrain the dogs. However, it is actually possible to retrain canines, as many police departments in Washington have already shown, by retraining their police dogs to ignore pot and focus on harder drugs. Legalization activist Dan Lynn of Normal thinks that the police are just making empty threats to scare the public. Of course. He said, the idea that legalizing for adults to have an ounce of them will equal all these dogs being euthanized, that seems kind of ridiculous and hyperbolic. But it is usually cops who are abusing their own dogs to begin with. Just last week, the Free Thought Project reported that an officer was caught on video abusing his own search dog when the animal failed to signal for drugs at a traffic stop. It's also common for police to leave their dogs in hot cars for extended periods of time until they die. One police officer in Georgia killed 3 of his dogs, one by leaving it in a hot car and 2 others by shooting them. Officer Daniel Peabody of the Cherokee County Marshal's Office buried his first 2 dogs in his yard and was eventually caught when he killed the 3rd. If any other organization was caught treating animals like this on such a regular basis, and they were admittedly raising them to be aggressive, there would be massive public outrage and calls of animal abuse. But the police are allowed to be abusers, so situations like this are often overlooked or ignored. I mean, hell, they abuse us and get away with it all the fucking time. You think they're going to get in trouble for abusing some animals?
One cryptocurrency project that I'm most excited about right now is ZenCash, with privacy, anonymity, and security done right. You can read all about ZenCash at thelavaflow.com/zen. Now look, I've read a ton of white papers on crypto, and this is the first one I've read that mentioned voluntary and voluntarist not once but 7 times. These are our people. And they are on the right track to mix great technology, excellent marketing, and awesome uses for their product. These guys get it, and they understand what crypto is all about. Now, this is a project, guys, that I believe in 100%. So much so that I have staked some of my own Zen to run a secure node on their network. So don't miss out on checking out this awesome project at thelavaflow.com/zen. In FDA is Clueless news, thanks to the FDA, maple syrup and honey made in New Hampshire may eventually carry nutrition labels saying they contain added sugar, with a footnote explaining that the sugar wasn't actually added. David Kent, a maple producer in Jaffrey and a board member of the New Hampshire Maple Producer Association, said, the FDA is trying to do something good, but they're going to confuse the consumer. They're going to say, did you add white sugar or did you add corn syrup? Well, no, we didn't do that, but it says on the label we did. They're trying to paint every product with the same size paintbrush and the same color brush. Now, this statist actually thinks that the FDA is trying to do good. Wow. The cognitive dissonance is strong with this one. Now, at issue are changes to the nutrition facts labels attached to all processed foods, including maple syrup and honey, either in 2020 or 2021, depending on the producer's size. In 2016, the Federal Food and Drug Administration began rolling out changes to the label to reflect new scientific information, supposedly, about links between diet and health, in particular with chronic problems like heart disease and diabetes. Driving the change was the amount of sugar being added to processed foods, including those that do not obviously contain sugar, such as ketchup. The labels have long included the total amount of sugar in the product. As part of the change, the FDA says on its website, added sugars in grams and as percent daily value will be included on the label. Scientific data shows that it is difficult to meet nutrients needs while staying within calorie limits if you consume more than 10% of your total daily calories from added sugar. It appears that the percentage of natural sugar in maple syrup and honey is so high that it triggers an added sugar designation based on nutrition guidelines rather than the source of the sugar. Why? because the FDA is nothing more than a moronic government bureaucracy that is too stupid to find a way to label things correctly. That's it. Gil McWilliam-Jelly, director of the State Division of Agricultural Development, said, "That's the term they've decided they're going to use for this category, whether it's added or not. It's just not the right descriptor. People will be unnecessarily confused." Well, no shit, Sherlock. Agriculture officials throughout northern New England have been complaining about the designation, seeking an exemption for single-ingredient products such as syrup and honey. Instead, the FDA has proposed in draft guidelines that it will attach a footnote to the added sugar designation for honey and syrup, saying all these sugars are naturally occurring. The draft can be read online at the FDA.gov website. So the FDA is going to fix the issue that consumers are going to be terribly confused by confusing them further, by adding a sign that says added sugar and then another one that says, hey, they're not really added. Typical government bullshit solution. So why is the term added being used in syrup and honey for sugars that are produced naturally by maple trees or bees? When you consume this product, you are adding sugar to your diet. That's how it was explained to me, said Kent. What the actual fuck? Are these fucking moronic bureaucrats just making this shit up as they go along? Of course they are. They don't know what they're doing. The government will fuck up anything it touches, including your lives. Please, guys, find ways to avoid the government as much as humanly possible. In Socialism Sucks news, for Venezuela, last year in August, the value of the online game World of Warcraft's virtual, read fake, gold was as much as double the Venezuelan bolivar. But recently it's been shown the virtual Azeroth gold is valued as much as 7 times more than the bolivar, and this number might even be higher in terms of the currency's black market value. World of Warcraft is by far one of the most popular and best-selling online games in the world, as the World of Warcraft game world is so elaborate to the point that it's had its own fluctuating in-game currency. The game's virtual currency can be exchanged for in-game and real-life items such as WoW tokens, and the prices of these items vary based on the status of real-world currencies, to the extent that some might even consider WoW Gold to be its own official currency. If one considers the exchange rate between the US dollar and the bolivar, $1 US is equal to 68,915 Venezuelan bolivar. Additionally, the price of one WoW token can currently be bought at $20 or sold for a fluctuating amount of in-game gold, which is currently at 203,035 gold pieces per token. Based on these calculations, $1 US therefore costs 10,152 in-game gold. By dividing the 68,915 bolivar with 10,152 WoW gold, it shows that WoW's virtual gold is worth 6.8 times as much as the bolivar. Fake in-game currency. If one does the same calculation with the black market price of the bolivar, which is currently at 636,771 bolivar per US dollar, WoW gold is a staggering 62 times more valuable than the bolivar. Yeah, folks, even a fake currency in a video game proves that socialism sucks. It's amazing to me that we have had so many perfect examples throughout history, and even today, of why socialism is a dismal failure. Yet people still flock to this system of governance. I just don't get it. Are you looking for a way to protect your online presence quickly, easily, and inexpensively while still surfing the net with high speed? Well, NordVPN is the best way that I've ever found to do just that. With over 2,500 servers worldwide, they cover every continent except Antarctica. But, as they say, that's only because penguins just don't get the internet. They also offer double data encryption, which encrypts data not once, but twice. And they never log what you do and where you go on the internet. Also, NordVPN is fast, the fastest VPN service that I've ever used. They have apps for Windows, Mac, iOS, and Android, so you can protect all of your traffic from all of your devices with NordVPN. Starting as low as $3.29 per month, they're also inexpensive, and they take Bitcoin too. With NordVPN, you can securely access any website from anywhere around the world, safely share files via P2P networks, and enjoy the fastest VPN experience without compromising your online security and privacy. Get signed up for the VPN service that I personally use every time I hit the internet at thelavaflow.com/VPN. Again, that's thelavaflow.com/VPN. In device security news, a new iOS update is about to roll out in the next few weeks or even days that will disable the Lightning port after 7 days since the device has been last unlocked. What's the meaning of this security measure and what are the reasons behind it? Apparently, iOS stores information about the date and time the device was last unlocked or had a data connection to a USB port. After the 7 days elapse, the Lightning port will be disabled. Once this happens, you will no longer be able to pair the device to a computer or USB accessory or use an existing lockdown record without unlocking the device with its passcode. The only thing you'll be able to do is charge. Whether or not iPhone unlocking solutions developed by Grayshift and Cellebrite will work is still an open question. USB restricted mode is aimed squarely at law enforcement, preventing device acquisition after the device has been stored for 7 consecutive days without being unlocked or connected to a paired computer or USB accessory. It was only a matter of time. Now, companies such as Cellebrite and the recent newcomer Grayshift make their business by unlocking protected iPhones. While Cellebrite offers this exclusively as an in-house service and the service is only available to selected law enforcement agencies with proper court orders, Graykey supplies the actual unlocking hardware to North American law enforcement directly. Both companies keep their lips shut as to the details of their techniques, so the exact method they use to gain access to the devices is not known to Apple. However, their ability to unlock even the latest hardware running the latest version of iOS is worrisome, so Apple is taking action with the USB restricted mode. Now, this is yet another great move by Apple to ensure the security of your devices from law enforcement. I applaud their recent efforts in this area. It's interesting to see Apple become the better company for your device security than Google. Maybe Apple is going back to their roots. I certainly hope so. In some show news, it's still contest time. I'm giving away some codes for free copies of the Audible audiobook, Neither Bullets Nor Ballots, Essays on Voluntarism by Carl Watner, Wendy McElroy, and George H. Smith. If you don't want to wait, you can purchase a copy of the audiobook right now at thelavaflow.com/nbnbaudio. I'm giving away a bunch of these audiobooks for free, and there are a few different ways you can get your copy today. First, if you're a current supporter of the show, I will send you a free code to get this book if you upgrade your support of the show by at least $1 per episode by June 1st. This is not a drawing or anything. If you upgrade your support, you get the book. It's that simple. Secondly, if you're not a supporter of the show already, and why aren't you, but you've been considering it, if you become a supporter of at least $1 per episode prior to June 1st, then you also get a free copy of the audiobook. Again, no drawing, simple. You become a new supporter, you get a free book. So to either upgrade your support or begin your new support, go to thelavaflow.com/support now, and you'll get your book. Thirdly, if you want to enter a drawing to win one of 5 codes for this free book, this is easy as well and won't cost you a penny. All you have to do is leave the show a review on Apple Podcasts at thelavaflow.com/Apple. Then send me an email to feedback@thelavaflow.com with a screenshot of you leaving the review. Again, this will have to be done prior to June 1st to be entered in the drawing. The drawing will be on June 1st, and the winners will be announced on the show after that date. So go to either thelavaflow.com/support or thelavaflow.com/Apple and get your chance to win your free audiobook copy of Neither Bullets Nor Ballots, Essays on Voluntarism. Do it now, or you run the risk of forgetting to do it and missing out on your chance to get this awesome book with amazing narration by yours truly. Good luck in the contest, guys, and thanks.
Exercise your free market muscles by going to thelavaflow.com/support and giving a per episode donation of as little as $1 an episode. Or use Bitcoin. Get exclusive content, rewards, and help the Lava Flow become fiscally neutral while providing you more content. thelavaflow.com/support.
It's time to shake up your podcast feed, folks, by subscribing to Lions of Liberty, the only libertarian variety show out there. Spend Mondays with me, Mark Claire, as I feature in-depth interviews with great names in the libertarian community and fun roundtable discussions.
Electric Liberty Land with me, Brian McWilliams, every Wednesday, your weekly dose of comedy, culture, and liberty.
And Felony Fridays with me, John Odermatt, where I expose injustice in the broken criminal justice system.
Find us on iTunes, Stitcher, and at lionsofliberty.com.
You can buy a handgun, you can buy got some fireworks. Sandwich Fair, rest in peace, Daniel Webster. America's Stonehenge, long live the dairy trade, long live the old man. I'm from the granites, really.
New Hampshire, if you don't want to wear a helmet, there's nothing they can do here in New Hampshire.
Police dogs used to sniff out drugs at a federal border patrol checkpoint on Interstate 93 in New Hampshire last summer amounted to a violation of the New Hampshire state constitution, a judge ruled, throwing out evidence against 18 defendants. The American Civil Liberties Union of New Hampshire had challenged the drug charges against 18 people who were arrested after being stopped and searched by Customs and Border Protection agents in the town of Woodstock last year, about 90 miles from the U.S. border. Federal agents used drug-sniffing dogs to alert them of suspicious vehicles, which would be diverted off the road and then searched. The ACLU argued that the evidence from the federal checkpoint can't be used in state prosecutions because the warrantless searches violated the state's constitution. Plymouth Circuit Court Judge Thomas Rappa, Jr. agreed. Rappa wrote, "This court finds that while the stated purpose of the checkpoints in this matter was screening for immigration violations, the primary purpose of the action was the detection and seizure of drugs." The CBP, Border Patrol, and the WPD, Woodstock Police Department, were working in collaboration with each other with the understanding that the WPD would take possession of any drugs seized below the federal guidelines for prosecution in federal court and bring charges in this court based on that evidence. The evidence was seized in violation of constitutional rights recognized by the New Hampshire Supreme Court. Lawyers for the ACLU argued the state must be able to prove a reasonable suspicion of criminal activity before a trained dog can be used to search a motor vehicle. Giles Bissonnette, legal director for the ACLU-NH, said in a statement, "These checkpoints flagrantly violated the New Hampshire Constitution and the Fourth Amendment. CPD and the WPD searched and seized hundreds, if not thousands, of the individuals during the summer tourist season without any reason to believe that these individuals had committed a crime. That's not how a free society works." And it essentially means that this case is now finished, said Gabriel Nizitek, who was representing the state. He said, "If we can't get the evidence in, we can't prove there was contraband," noting it would be up to the U.S. Department of Justice to decide whether the ruling should be appealed. While police said the checkpoint was set up to catch people attempting to cross the border illegally, the majority of offenses resulting from the checkpoint were, of course, drug-related. 33 people were detained for immigration-related offenses, while 44 were charged with drug possession, mostly small amounts of marijuana, by either Woodstock police or state police. Well, no fucking shit, folks. My question is, if the searches were done without probable cause, meaning they were illegal searches, in the open, right in front of WPD officers, why the fuck did the WPD officers not arrest the fucking feds who were breaking the law? Rappa also wrote in his decision, "If state authorities and not federal agents had used the same technique of using drug-sniffing dogs at a roadside checkpoint, the evidence would be inadmissible because there was no articulable reasonable suspicion that any of these defendants were involved in criminal activity prior to the initial dog search." Now, this is an excellent ruling by a New Hampshire judge, and I'm glad to see it. Now, if the state can just stand up to the feds and tell them there will be no more border checkpoints in this state, that would be great. New Hampshire already has a great track record in these areas, banning stingray devices in the state, banning license plate readers, and the New Hampshire House passed a ban earlier this year on sobriety checkpoints, saying they were unconstitutional. Unfortunately, that bill was killed in the Senate, but so was marijuana decriminalization for many years, and it finally passed. This is very likely to eventually pass in New Hampshire as well. And thanks to former Free State Project president and current president of the Foundation for New Hampshire Independence, Carla Garrick, the state has said in court that it is completely legitimate for people to film police performing their duty. And she won a pretty good settlement from the police department that stopped her from recording. If you're not seeing freedom increase in your state, then you need to move to the home of the Free State Project, New Hampshire, without a doubt. Or at least come check it out at PorcFest this year. Now, you can get 10% off of your PorcFest tickets at porcfest.com using coupon code LAVA10 and come hang out with 1,000 libertarians living anarchy for a week in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. I hope to see you guys there. Thank you for listening to the show this week. As always, I need to thank my favorite video game voiceover actress, Jessica, for her help with the show. For the show notes to this episode, where I put links and other information that's been on the show, go to thelavaflow.com/90. I've got 2 new supporters this week. Edward H. supported the show at the $2.50 per episode level using Patreon. Thank you so much, Edward. That is awesome. Also received a one-time Bitcoin support from Mike T. through Coinbase. Mike, you rock. Thanks. And longtime supporter Tyler R. increased his support from $1 per episode to $2.50 per episode using Patreon. Thank you so much, Tyler. Thanks to Matt and all of my awesome supporters, I'm at $262 per episode, or 52.4% of the way towards my next goal of $500. Thanks for all your support, guys. It really means the world to me. Remember, when I hit this next goal, I'm going to be upping the content I bring you from half an hour per week to a full hour. I know you want more content from me, and I want to give it to you, so add your pledge today to help me bring you that content. So go exercise your free market muscles at thelavaflow.com/support and give a per episode donation of as little as $1 an episode using Federal Reserve notes through Patreon or Bitcoin through Coinbase. Thanks so much. I have no new Apple Podcast reviews this week, but if you have a minute and you want to hear your review read right here on the show, please go to thelavaflow.com/Apple and leave me a rating and a review. All the cool kids are doing it. Thank you to everyone who's left me a rating and a review so far. You guys rock. To all of you who haven't, can you guys help me out and go leave a review for me? Go to thelavaflow.com/Apple to do that now. Until next time, keep striking the roots.
Thank you for listening to The Lava Flow at thelavaflow.com. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe now at thelavaflow.com/subscribe. This has been a Pax Libertas Productions podcast.